Good morning. We are live. Let me get myself situated here. Good morning. We are live. We know that it works. Awesome. Let's see. Cool. So, Joy, I don't have the Facebook video up. It's on. Okay, cool. I'm just letting you know that I can't see who's there. I can't see anything. Okay, so cool. That lag really throws me off. Okay. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on this momentous Tuesday, which happens to be our election day. So I am a proud voter. I did my civic duty on Friday. I had to travel out of town to make sure that my vote counted, and I hope you all are also going to make sure that your vote gets counted. So whether you are standing in line at your precinct and getting ready to vote, or you are already thinking about what your holiday menus are going to look like, I'm here to entertain you and shed some light on some ways that you can lighten up your holiday dishes if that's what you want to do. So I want to preface this that I think that holiday meals are very special and there's a lot of tradition that goes into it. And that means that we want it to taste the way our grandmother made it or our mom made it, or maybe you're starting your own new tradition. So all of these ideas are recommendations and they are not set in stone. Maybe you want everything to be as heavy as it can possibly be because that makes your heart happy for holidays. And that is fine. I think holidays are, you have the opportunity to just kind of like skip your diet if that's what you're doing. So these are good ideas and take them as you will. And let's get started. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is I want to show you how you can lighten up your mashed potatoes if that's something that you serve by making a cauliflower potato mash. So my recipe is not 100% cauliflower. So 100% cauliflower to me is it's very strongly cauliflower and you know it's there. And when you mix it in with equal parts potatoes, you're able to get more potato flavor and it's a little more balanced. So what I'm going to do today is I am going to steam my potatoes and cauliflower. So you can boil them or you can steam them, and that is up to you and what you have available for cooking. So if you're going to steam them, you need a really big pot and you need a strainer that's metal that's going to fit inside of your big pot. I don't think a plastic strainer is a good idea for this, but a metal strainer works really well. So if you don't have that, you can absolutely boil them. One thing that is good about steaming is that potatoes have a really high source of potassium. So when you boil your potatoes, the potassium will go into the water because it's water soluble. So then when you strain them, you'll lose the really good potassium in the potatoes. And that's the major difference between boiling and steaming. So maintaining some nutrition quality is why we're going to steam. So I've got my water here. I'm going to put my lid on to get it up to a boil. You can see that this isn't completely covered and that's not required. Also, let me say that the amount of water in the bottom of your pot is very small. It shouldn't touch the bottom of your strainer. You want the steam to be able to go through all of the holes of the strainer. Okay, so I've got equal parts potatoes and cauliflower. So I'm working with about a pound of each today. We all serve different amounts of people. So if you need more than that, just make sure it's equal parts. My written recipe in the resource folder calls for 2 pounds and 2 pounds. But I didn't need to make that much to show you how to make it. So I cut it down. So I'm also going to use a potato masher. Heard that. To incorporate them together. You can also use a ricer, which is the like #1 best thing to use to make the most smooth potatoes. I don't own a ricer. I don't know anyone that actually owns a ricer, but it works the best. Potato masher works. Do not use a food processor. I learned this the hard way. Potatoes, once they are cooked, they're really starchy and there's lots of air pockets inside of them. Whenever you use a food processor, it's way too aggressive and it will make your potatoes kind of turn to like a sticky goo, and it's not good. So don't use a food processor. You can use an electric hand mixer, that works. It's not as aggressive as a food processor. So I'm using Yukon Gold potatoes today. Those are the best for mashed potatoes. You can also use russets. You can use reds. Just be careful with the method of mashing that you use. Reds are going to be ones that will become really sticky really easy. So using reds, maybe use a regular masher instead. I learned all of this the hard way. So as soon as my water is boiling, I'm going to add my potatoes and my cauliflower. Actually, I'm going to add my potatoes first, and they're going to steam for 10 minutes. And then I'm going to add my cauliflower, and I will steam it all for 10 more minutes. So the potatoes need 20 minutes. Cauliflower needs 10 minutes. Okay, I'm just going to move this over here so it's easy for me to add. And then I am super excited to show this extra thing that you can do for your meals that will elevate the flavor of everything, and it makes it seem really fancy, and it's not. So what I like to do is, one second. There we go. All right. I love to roast whole heads of garlic. Actually, let me move this so I can show you. Do you see this beautiful roasted garlic heads? So this is very easy to do, and I would say just do this a day or so before you even start doing any other of your food prep. This is very simple. I'm going to show you how to do it. So all you need is garlic. You need a whole head of garlic that's intact for the most part. And then you need some aluminum foil, which is what you're going to cook it in. Okay. Let me move this tray out of the way. And then, so first thing you're going to do is you're going to cut off about a ½ inch to an inch off the top of the garlic, and you want all of the cloves to be visible. So I'm just going to cut off the top a little bit here. I start kind of shallow so I can go back if I need to and get the clove that I missed. There we go. This one's actually purple. That's cool. Okay, so you can see here that I missed this garlic clove and I missed this one. So we want to make sure they're all open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my knife and just slice off the tip top there so it is open. Just like so. There we go. And then I got this little guy over here. I'm also going to do that as well. There we go. So easy peasy. You're going to do this with all of your garlic heads, and then you're going to place it on your foil. Let me add my potatoes to the steamer here. They're ready to go. Yes, please. 10 minutes. So you've got your garlic here, all cut up and ready to go. So you're going to take some olive oil and you're just going to pour it over the top, and you want to make sure it goes over the top of each open clove. And that's what makes it turn to basically garlic butter. So I'm just going to be really light-handed with this. It's going to look like a lot, but it's not that much. Okay. Just want to make sure you've got all the pieces. There we go. So that is nice and covered. And then you are going to close it up. And you're going to put this directly in a 400-degree oven. The The shortest amount of time will be 40 minutes. You can cook them a little bit longer than 40 minutes, but check them first at 40 minutes. If you cook them longer, you'll get more brown color and caramelization and just flavor. It's all, this is straight flavor. You can also take a piece of bread and sop up the olive oil that's in the foil at the end, and that's also going to be straight garlic olive oil. So this is a great addition to any dish that you make that calls for garlic. It's going to boost the flavor so much. We're going to add this to our mashed potatoes. That's why I'm showing you how to make it. So please do this. So I wanted to show you how you know your garlic is done. So first of all, you can see how caramelized they are, and you can see that they've kind of separated from the skin. But the best way to know is if you take a small knife and you pierce it. So that just slid in there is like just like butter, just like warm butter. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out a few of these. Okay, we'll have to do this. So I'm going to use 5 of these for my mashed potatoes because if you don't know already, I really like garlic over here. So if you like a little less garlic, you can definitely use a little less. I'm just going to pull this out. That's 2. We've got 3 and 4. So you want to be really careful not to burn the garlic because there's really not much worse than burnt garlic because it has this really strong, bitter flavor. So try to avoid that as much as possible. There we go. All right, there's my 5 cloves of roasted garlic. Okay, so that's going to go in our mashed potatoes. I'm curious to know if anyone's ever roasted garlic before, if this is the first time you've been introduced to this. It's really it's a life changer. And it's really hands-off. It takes you 2 minutes to prep, and then you can put it in the oven and do what you need to do with the rest of your food. Okay, so potatoes are steaming, roasted garlic is done, but also you know how to do that now. Next thing I'm going to show you how to do is to roast some green beans. So I need to take a step back and talk about why we are making some of these swaps. So like I said, this is totally up to you. We've all been there where we have felt super full and uncomfortable on our Thanksgiving meal days, and maybe the majority of our dishes that are being served are all the same color. That's common. And it depends on where you're from too. So like I'm from Southeast Georgia, and we might have a green bean casserole, and so there will be some green there, but everything else is going to be tan, tan and brown and delicious. You might have some orange with some sweet potato souffle, and you might have some burgundy, I guess we can say. You've got cranberry sauce, but otherwise, there's not a lot of vegetables involved. So it's a good idea to just serve at least one additional vegetable that's not covered in sauce or incorporated into something else that's really heavy. So I wanted to share a simple way that you can make green beans. You can also make other vegetables this way. You can roast broccoli, Brussels sprouts, green beans, asparagus. You can roast cauliflower. What else is in there? You can roast the potatoes. Yeah, you can roast sweet potatoes, and those turn out really nice and caramelized. So this is a good extra vegetable that's going to add some additional fiber that's going to make your stomach feel better later. Trust me. So it's very simple to prepare. All I did was chopped off the ends of the green beans. I put them on my foil lined baking sheet. And then what I did was use a spray oil. 1 second. I used spray oil. So this is another tip when you're cooking, is that this goes a long way. So you can save the amount of fat that you're incorporating into your food. that you're just using to make sure things don't stick together or if it's going to brown. This is going to help sort of like reduce the amount of fat that you're using. So spray oil is a good idea. Not required, good idea. So sprayed it. All I did was sprinkle some garlic powder and some salt and some pepper. We're gonna pop them in the oven at 425 degrees. And you're going to check them around 8 or 9 minutes to see how they're looking. And you'll know that they're done whenever they look a little bit charred. You can also do that under a broiler, and that will cook faster, which means you have to keep your eyes on it. But this is just a really good way to incorporate additional vegetables and additional colors. If you are thinking about what your plate looks like, the general recommendation is half of your plate fruits and vegetables. That's hard during the holidays, I understand. But if you've got sweet potato souffle, you've got a green bean, or maybe we'll just say like a broccoli or a Brussels sprout, and maybe a green bean casserole that's a little extra heavy. Those are all vegetables. So just keep that in mind when you're making your plate. Cool. I'm gonna put this in the oven and we're gonna check on it in just a few minutes. Joy, can you help me keep up with that? Okay, so green beans are in the oven. I know that there are a lot of oven recipes for the holidays. So having that extra vegetable that you need to cook in the oven might seem like an extra hassle, but it can be one of the last things that you cook because it takes such a short amount of time. So maybe you've taken your turkey out and maybe you made a baked mac and cheese and you've got that finished or it's in there. You can slide these veggies in there as long as it's a high-ish temperature, because you don't want them to cook to mush before they get brown or crispy. So just keep that in mind. Okay, onward to the next thing. So potatoes are steaming still. We've got our roasted garlic and our roasted green beans. And last but not least, this is really fun and it looks a little fancy, but it's super easy to put together. I think it's personally easier to put together than other Thanksgiving desserts. So what I'm going to show you next is individual apple crisp, and you're going to bake it inside of All right, here we go. So I have already made my mix. So the crisp portion is oats, some chopped walnuts. That is optional. If you don't have walnuts, you can use almonds or walnuts, almonds, cashews would be fine. If you don't have nuts, leave it out, no problem. And so you're going to have some cinnamon, a little bit of flour, and 1 egg. So the egg is what's going to be your binder. You've got a little bit of brown sugar in here for sweetness, and this is going to go on top of your apple. So I'm going to show you how to prepare your apple. I'm gonna just... They look good. Okay. So you can use any style of apple for this. I mean, whatever is the cheapest, honestly, that's what I chose. You're going to cut your apple down the middle, right through the core. So we're gonna go straight through the core. You've got your 2 pieces of apple. Then you're going to scoop out a nice little circle around where the seeds are and the tough part. So I'm using a 1 tablespoon, which is the perfect size to make a little circle in the middle of my apple. So I'm just going to lay it flat and see how it lays. And then I'm just gonna lift the back end and push the front end into the apple like that. There we go. And then you're just gonna like move it in a circle, just like that. So you've got your little imprint, and then you're gonna scoop it out. There. So I've got a little bit of the bottom stem part here. I'm just gonna take that out just for fun. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and scoop my other one. You can use a melon baller if you have that. I don't own a melon baller, but you can use your measuring spoons. You can also use a regular kitchen spoon, or you can use a small knife to do this. There we go. We'll get that little corner piece out once more. There we go. Okay. So next, all you're going to do is you're going to add a 1/4 cup of this filling right into the hole that we just made in our apple. Oh, that sounds awesome.
I feel like you probably pull them out.
Okay.
They can also.
Okay. I trust your judgment. I was trying to put the timer on for 10 minutes. Okay. Oh, that smells good. Okay. So just like that. So you're going to put them in a casserole dish and you're going to cover it with foil and you will bake it for 25 minutes covered at 350 degrees. And then you're going to take the foil off and you're going to bake it for another 25 minutes. So you're going to have a beautiful baked apple. Actually, those are done. Yeah, we've got some in the oven right now that are finished up. And yeah, so that's it. Kind of, as I was thinking about it, it does sound like it takes a good bit of time, but you could put these in the oven when you sit down to eat your meal. So all you need is to keep a little timer nearby so you can take the foil off at 25 minutes. But once you're done eating your meal and you put away the dishes from the main course, these will be ready for you to have dessert. So this can be in addition to your favorite Thanksgiving dessert, pumpkin pie, sweet potato pie, pecan pie, whatever you like to serve. But this is gonna give us a lot less fat and a lot less sugar, and like I said a minute ago, a boost of fiber that's gonna make your stomach happy later. All right, so we're going to these off. There we go. Beautiful. So this is the final product. All right. That's nice. Awesome. Okay. So one fun thing that you can do is make this look a little fancy by just putting a little cinnamon on the plate before you put the apple down. It's going to look like you put a ton of thought into this. And it took you some time, but it's really simple to do. So I'm just going to splash some cinnamon on this plate and we'll see how that turned out. Just a little bit. There we go. The more abstract it looks, the more of a fancy people like to think. There we go. So there's that's beautiful. Your individual apple crisp.
So cute.
It's so cute. I know, right? I'm gonna put this other one on the plate. So my apple gave me some juice down here. I'm curious to know if that tastes good. No, it's stuck to the bottom. I was thinking, did we get apple caramel out of this? That would be cool, but not the case. Okay, we move this out of the way. All right, so that is a beautiful substitute. So my fixings for my mashed potatoes back over here. Okay, 1 second.
4 minutes left.
4? Great, great. That was really good timing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they sound good. They sound good. They sound all crispy and crackly in there. Okay, so yeah. So what I've got here is a substitute for buttermilk because I didn't have buttermilk. You can take regular milk or any non-dairy milk and you can add some vinegar to it. It will give it that tart punch that buttermilk has. And if the milk has a lot of protein in it, it will curdle and thicken up just a little bit, very similar to buttermilk. So I just had some cashew almond milk because I was sharing some ideas to use that with our partner pantries. So I just used that and I added some vinegar. So the recipe for that is 1/3 cup of milk to 1 teaspoon of vinegar. So if you've got a cup of milk, you would use 1 tablespoon, which is 3 teaspoons. So I've just got this available. I'm just going to use this to sort of loosen up the potatoes and cauliflower as I'm mashing to incorporate it really well. I was doing some research on recipes as I was developing this. And one recipe, the person saved the water from the steaming and added some of that back to the cooked vegetables when she was mashing it. So that's also an option. I will say that I did salt the water that I'm steaming with. I've always been really wary of adding too much salt to the cooking water. We're steaming this, so it's not going to absorb a lot into the potatoes and the cauliflower, but I learned a lot. So I didn't say earlier that your potatoes can be peeled or not peeled. I keep the skin because fiber, but I personally like the skin on there. So if you keep the skin on, the less amount of salt is going to be absorbed into the potatoes. If they're completely peeled, more salt is going to be absorbed because more of the flesh is going to touch the cooking water. So you could cook actually whole small potatoes and they will absorb less salt. So just keep that in mind whenever you are cooking, if you are paying attention to the amount of salt that you have in your food. But so, yes, salt will be absorbed, but it's not enough to drastically affect the overall amount or be too much for any recommendations for salt intake. So I thought that was really interesting. That also applies to pasta, Joy. I mean, like the amount of salt that's absorbed is great for flavor, but it's not too much, just really minimal. I don't have the exact numbers in my head, but some cool stuff to know.
40 seconds on the
40 seconds. Okay, let me grab this tray. So I can pull out the strainer and put it on the tray. And then we're going to do some mashing. Yes, thank you. I would have figured that out once I tried to grab it. I make this often for myself because I really like mashed potatoes, but I also am trying to figure out how I can incorporate vegetables into a meal. Because I focus on that. That's my priority. We all have different priorities, but it's always a good idea to just have the vegetables. I would say, no, okay. You can also, oops, one second. Okay. Let me give these a little poke and see how they feel. That's good. We've got a good, nice texture on it. Let me turn off my burner. So I will say that if you're thinking half of this dish is cauliflower, and you're like, that's not going to slide. Everyone's going to know there's cauliflower in this, and they're going to say, Grandma didn't make it this way. So you don't have to use half. You can do 3/4 potatoes and just a little bit of cauliflower. And even the smallest amount is going to just add some extra nutrients to your meal. And dare I say it again, fiber. If you know me personally, I can talk about fiber. Okay. So they smell really good. I can smell that the water was salted, because you can tell the difference between a plain boiled potato and a salted boiled potato. So I can smell it. It smells really good. Here, I'm gonna add my roasted garlic. That's like kind of the star of the show here. And so this is a great opportunity to bring some kiddos in the kitchen to do some of this, like, just boring for the adult manual labor. So it's just a good idea to do that. So I will say, you notice that there's a big color difference between the Yukon Golds and the cauliflower. So if you want it to be as color consistent as possible, you can use your russets, because they're going to be white. So once if you use a hand mixer, that's going to incorporate the color a little bit better, and then it may just look like it's buttery. So this is mashing really well. I'm happy with this. I personally like my potatoes to have like little chunks of potatoes. I'm a texture person. I am all about how can I taste like some of the original texture in foods. So this is really well. And it smells amazing because of that garlic. It's a good consistency too. I don't think I'm going to need all of this buttermilk that I made. Okay, I'm going to grab a spatula so I can mix it up really well. So if you want this to be smoother, Google a ricer and see what that looks like. So you might look for it if you want to buy one. That's going to be your smoothest texture. It basically, kind of, whenever you put the potatoes or whatever in it, it comes, you mash it down through the contraption and it comes out the bottom, and it kind of looks like spaghetti noodles, has really small holes. So it makes it really smooth, like almost puree. That's a really good texture. I still see some chunks in here. I'm going to just mash it. So, but while I'm mashing, I'm going to share a couple more tips with y'all. So we talked about using spray oil instead of liquid oil. We talked about incorporating more vegetables, and we talked about a really easy dessert addition or substitution, your choice. One other thing that I can share is portion sizes. So that's a kicker. You're usually starving by the time the meal is served. From my personal experience, it usually takes longer than it's anticipated. So you're real hungry and you're ready to eat. And once you get your plate, you are going to add the biggest scoop of everything because you're so hungry. So my mother-in-law says your eyes are bigger than your stomach. So if you use a smaller plate, it will force you to get smaller portions because your plate's not big. So you can always go back for seconds. I'm going to share that. It's a holiday. Please feel free to do that. But just consider using a smaller plate. Like maybe you get all of the flavors and everything incorporated in your first round, and you feel good about it, and you don't feel like a stuffed turkey. And then you can move on to dessert and actually enjoy your dessert because you're not like putting it on top of everything else that's all super full in there. So that is just a good idea, is to use a smaller plate. So no, this looks like mashed potatoes, right? The yellow from the potatoes really mixed in well with the white cauliflower, and they actually look really buttery with no butter incorporated. So I don't really feel like I need to add this buttermilk because my texture turned out so well. I'm going to taste it and see if it might benefit. So the only salt here is from the steaming of the vegetables, and then the garlic wasn't salted. I'm gonna use a little buttermilk. Or everyone has their own recipe for making mashed potatoes. You can make that lighter just by making a really, really small substitute. So say your mashed potatoes call for sour cream, full fat sour cream. Maybe you can use a lower fat sour cream, or you can even go as far as using a Greek yogurt, which is going to give you more benefits than just the creamy tart flavor a sour cream would give you. Just going to do a little bit of this. Okay. Oh, that's even creamier. So you can also add some herbs, like fresh herbs, to the water that you're cooking in. So whether you're boiling or steaming, you could throw some rosemary in the water, and you would basically infuse the potatoes and cauliflower with rosemary. So you could do that if you wanted to like take it up a notch. I see rosemary all the time. Walking down the street, you'll see some wild rosemary, and it's an evergreen, so it never dies off and just continues to grow. Take yourself a little snip of rosemary and toss it in your mashed potatoes. Okay. So at this point, this is where you add your extra fixings that you like for your mashed potatoes. Sour cream, maybe try some Greek yogurt. You can actually add some garlic powder to this to make it more garlicky. If you prefer, whatever you like in your mashed potatoes, this is your chance to do it. But we lightened it up because we added the cauliflower. So that is how you make cauliflower mashed potatoes. I like to call it collie-tater mash because it sounds a little silly. I'm always looking for something to be non-traditional. So if you will take a minute and look at the resource folder that is linked in the caption, not the caption, but the body of the text for this video. The bit.ly link to our resource folder. This is episode 12, so find the episode 12 episode, and you are going to find everything that I talked about today and more. So we've got recipe for collie-tater mash, we've got our baked apples, and our roasted garlic is on the recipe with the potatoes. I used the recipe for roasted asparagus to cook my green beans today because I don't have a written, oh, I didn't show you guys. Here's a roasted green beans. So good. It still has a little bit of crisp. It just feels healthy whenever it still has some texture to it. So here's our roasted green beans. I added some more vegetable side inspiration there. So there is going to be a produce card for corn. You can make cream corn without cream, and it's still fantastic. It doesn't need cream. It makes its own cream with the corn juice that comes from the cob. We've got asparagus, broccoli, sweet potatoes, In the past, I did a sweet potato episode where I made apple glazed sweet potatoes and cooked the apples in apple juice with cinnamon. And that's a beautiful substitute for sweet potato souffle or addition if you would like to maybe do half and half, give everybody the best of both worlds. So there are many ways to add vegetables to your Thanksgiving meal. Cool. Do you have any questions, Joel?
Not so far.
No questions? All right.
It is Friday today.
Well, it is voting day, so I imagine that people are out doing that or trying to get their work done so they can leave a little bit early at the end of the day from their work day. So I hope that's okay. Yeah. I want you guys to tune in 2 weeks for our next November episode, and it will be the week before Thanksgiving. I'm going to talk about using your holiday food in leftovers. So that's going to be fun to think about how you can reuse some of this stuff so it doesn't feel like you're still eating turkey and mashed potatoes. So thank you all for joining us today, and we will see you in 2 weeks on Tuesday. See you later.